Okay. Hello. So this is, I guess we'll just call it some benefits of doing this, but this little blip is more about focusing on tips and approaches and how to expand off of this 30-day meditation series. So one, the benefits are you can connect more deeply with your star family, your celestial beings, your guides. By working through some of these words and neutralizing them, bringing words into divine neutrality, you can become a better listener, hold higher heart coherency when others are holding discordant energies around you or other frequencies, because the idea is for us to hold our space and hold our energy field while being able to be a compassionate observer of ourselves and others, and recognizing the discordant energies but not being affected by them, right? And then understanding and realizing when you are being affected by them, and then honoring yourself and leaving the area. By doing this work, we become better co-creators because we are healing the subconscious, which then eliminates these frequencies that can be looking for a match in the outside world that is negating your intention that you are setting. So in the last chapter, we'll call it, we talked about setting an intention for abundance or money. But if you have negative feelings about money, or you have a lack of self-worth, those frequencies are going to be going out and deleting the frequencies, your high power word frequencies, if that makes sense. So you can become a better co-creator by doing this work. You can be a better channeler. And what does that mean? If the beings are trying to communicate through you and you are not entirely out of the way, or maybe you have a massive amount of resistance around certain words, and they can be sending you that sound vibration through you so that you translate a download into a specific word, you will have resistance around that, and the clarity of yourself as a channeler is murky. It's not so clear. And Mahana agrees. So if you can bring language into a state of divine neutrality, to bring truly, what you're doing is you're bringing yourself into a state of divine neutrality, not the language, but as within, so without. You create a more clarity in your channeling. Okay, so here's just a brief intro with a few tips and tricks that I think will be beneficial. Okay, so a lot of the reason why we're working with these words is because we're talking about polarity, correct? And we are existing in a universe that is based on polarity. These are the laws of this universe that we are in. Positive, negative, male, female, electron, proton, right? So this is how we are made. So, polarity is an inherent part of all creation, and we tend to get stuck in problems of polarity because we believe that one pole is better than the other. We do this with language. We believe that one word is bad or another word is good. However, without understanding both poles, we will never be able to see that they are just different degrees of a single phenomenon. So, while over these next 30 days, let's try and be aware of how often we want to categorize things, label experiences and observations as either good or bad. So let's make a conscious effort to feel our experiences, allow them, and then give ourselves permission to describe them in non-polarizing terms. So can you describe an experience or just simply talk about your day in a way that does not assign meaning to it? So you can start with yourself, and as you begin to master this, start applying this to your external world. Notice how your internal landscape resonates with your external experience. Are they aligned or not? And there isn't an end goal here. We are simply practicing compassionate observation in relation to how we interact with and use the power of language and sound in our life. So we are weaving our creativity into co-creating our lives. So let us be aware of ourselves as the creators that we are, because we are the created ones, and we are both the created and the created. We are both the creators and the created ones. So we can allow ourselves to be aware that we are artists of language. We use language all of the time. So let's focus on the way that we wrap our experiences in language. Remember that language is a vibration, each letter a tone and a sound, and we place those letters together and they make a different sound, which creates a word. We can look to these lettered sounds, and we can look them up in a dictionary. We can find meaning and even trace the etymology of a particular verb, adjective, or noun. But we feel differently about certain words, and that's what we're exploring, is why do we feel differently? So this is often based on our past experiences, as well as the collective experience and history of a word. So think of the words that you don't like, or words that trigger you. They very well may be derogatory words, or they might be quite simple. He, she, mother, father, alien, black, white. And that's what we're doing over the next 30 days. But go ahead and make your own list. Write them down and push yourself to keep writing them out. So you can just keep track in your phone when you're out in the world and you hear a word, maybe one that's really powerful or one that kind of makes your body sort of want to go away from it. Those are the kinds of things that you're looking for, is how does your body respond to language? And oftentimes what we do is we associate the person saying the words, that they have more power. Like we are associating our, let's just say, our non-beneficial or our negative experience with the person that is saying the words and not the words themselves. But if every person had been using the same words in the same way and pushing the same emotion behind it, then what's happening is those words then kind of morph and become this whole other energy field, and then you use those words with yourself, and then we have problems. And you might not even mean them in the same way, but because you've had such traumatic experiences. So we'll just pick something like if you are if you identify as being female and you are transgender and you are female, but people say, "What's up, dude?" or "Hey, man," or "Hey, guy," like those are just words, but they feel very differently to you. So this is what we want to unpack, and this is what we want to explore, because then what happens is when we are triggered by these words, we our body sort of goes into fight or flight, and we can't listen, and our energy field becomes distorted, and we have lost perception, we have lost clarity within the situation, within ourselves. We've become ungrounded. A lot of things can happen. So this, my hope is that this is fun, right? But this is how the beings talked about this. This is my galactic family spoke about it this way, is that every word is a cup that is filled with every interaction that you have ever had with it. So every word has a personal and a collective experience. Circle, so when you write this whole list, you can just circle the words that trigger you the most and then begin to unpack it. And how you unpack it is up to you. We're going to have these guided meditative experiences. First, what will happen is I will give one meditation that will set you up to be in the place and the space to look at the words, right? So that will be one meditation, and you can listen to that if you need to, and then you can go into the word portion. So hopefully, ideally, each word portion will be 15 to 30 minutes. Ideally, we're talking about less than 15 minutes. So depending on who you are and how you get centered, is going to depend on how long you need with each of these words. And you might want to explore one of them a lot longer, for weeks or months, because some of them are just filled with that much energy, right? So it's like we have these cups and we're like, mother, power, manipulation, love. And every experience we have, we're just filling the cup, filling the cup, filling the cup. And it just means so many things. And all of these attachments are, it's like an octopus with the suction cups and sticky. Everything is just sticky, or honey, spidery honey webs. Spidery honey webs. I don't even know. But attachments get sticky and messy, and then we start avoiding. And that's what we don't want to do. Plus, this is just a journey of self-discovery. So you can write a list. You can circle the words that trigger you the most. And please feel free. After a few of these are released, they're not all done. I'm doing them kind of along the way as we go. Please let me know if there's a word that you want me to focus on, and put it in the comments, and I will pick that word. I'll tune in, we'll pick the word, and then we'll use it in one of the meditations. So I really encourage all of you that are out there to, participate and put words that you would like us to look at together. So with that said, one activity that you can do after the meditation, or if you want to work with it some more, is you can take a word and do like a mind map, and you can, you might draw it out, or if you want to draw, you can draw images, feel into what it means to you. You can create a word web of adjectives, synonyms. You also might consider pulling an oracle card to assist you in the process. So all of you oracle and tarot lovers out there, this is gonna be awesome for you. My suggestion is to pull a card, but don't look at it. Keep it face down and do the meditation, and maybe feel into it yourself first. And this is just my recommendation. And then look at the card and see how the card is whether it's bringing you a message or whether it's supporting you, and why supporting your already held beliefs. And the reason why I'm saying this is because oftentimes, even though when we're looking at oracle cards and tarot cards, what we're looking at is symbols, right? We're looking at imagery and we're looking at symbols, and that is also language. So we might have personal beliefs and feelings about these symbols, and yes, of course, when you're giving a reading or a session, those personal beliefs or symbols, they will come up as that and can be used very powerfully in a session. But right now we're trying to uncover what we might not be aware of, that we have beliefs around that are living in our subconscious. And so when we look at the oracle cards or symbols in the images, like, if you really don't like snakes, and then you pull the snake card, right? And this is all part of doing the work to uncover what and where your belief systems are. So this is all about awareness. So, of course, use your intuition, right? So Soul inquiry is so important. It's important for everything. Soul inquiry, it's about asking ourselves questions, and what we're doing is we're really asking the universe questions. The more that you practice this, the better that you get. And why is this important? It is important because the information that we are able to receive is contingent upon our consciousness level, which is demonstrated by our ability to ask questions. So let me say that again. Our ability to ask questions is how, I don't want to say it's the beings are able to tune into our energy field, but our ability to ask questions demonstrates our level of consciousness. And when we receive responses from the universe, that will match the level of our consciousness, right? So if we're asking a question like, what is my problem? That is going to get a very different response than if you get really specific and say, I wonder what is happening within my body that is creating dis-ease, and where am I blocked, and asking more complex, a higher vibrational question, right? So you can practice soul inquiry and use free writing as well after or during any of these meditations, however you feel guided. Okay, this is another really important thing. If you are multilingual and you speak English, awesome, you are amazing. It is the more languages that you are able to speak and or study, the more that your mind opens, the more that you connect with the universe, the more that you understand cultures in this really incredible way that it almost can't be experienced any other way. And this is how huge language is, right? It has cultural histories in it. It has religious beliefs in it. It has huge collective belief systems. And then on top of that, we have all of our personal belief systems, okay? So if you are multilingual, if English is not the first language that you grew up speaking, and what I mean by this is there's been a lot of psychology studies on this. This is why they suggest that anytime you go to a psychiatrist or psychologist, to go to one that is a native speaker of your emotional language. And your emotional language is usually, almost always, the first language that you learn. So if you grew up speaking Spanish, in the house, in the home, and that just flows out of you, and that's easier, but you also speak English perfectly, go ahead and try both of them. But we're looking for emotion, we're looking for triggers, so my suggestion is to translate whatever word we are working with into your emotional language, which will be your first language, and then try both and see what happens. Here's an example. I had a boyfriend when I was in Paraguay, and I was so mad about something one day, and I had a really hard time being angry in Spanish because it's like I'm using it's a second language, right? So I'm using my brain. It's harder to feel through my heart, right? But I want to have the emotion coming out with the language that I'm using. So it can be a little bit challenging. So those are my suggestions, and to play with it. And if you discover anything along the way, please share with us so that I can create another video, or let me know and I can share it with others, what you're doing. That's really helpful. Additionally, it's beneficial to understand that we are water beings, and sound travels faster through water, longer distances, than through air. So remember that. So words are really powerful, and our bodies are crystalline. And you can look up studies by Emoto. Let me see. So briefly, Masura Emoto, during the 1990s, he's a Japanese scientist. He conducted some experiments to prove that words have power. And not only that, but they changed the physical structure of the water. So pure water in a frozen state forms beautiful crystals like snow under a microscope, right? But polluted water freezes without forming into crystals. So he named these two experiments as positive and negative, and the positive ones created beautiful crystals, right? Fascinating crystals, while the negative ones formed no crystals. So the positive words were I love you or sweet, and the negative words are hate or bad. And so the point of this is that an object's so it only took sounds, words, vibrations to move into this water to change the physical structure, right? So this really helps us understand what we're doing to our physical bodies, what we're doing to our DNA, and that our thoughts and our words are so important. And then the other, okay, so pay attention to the language that people are using around you and how you feel with the way that the language is being used around you. Do you feel that you are being a perfect snow crystal or a polluted crystal? And then how can you describe these experiences without polarizing them? And then pay attention to the people around you, because a lot of times we say things like, oh, that person is stupid, or I hate this, or I hate that. Right? So start paying attention to how, or, oh, I would kill for that. Pay attention to these phrases that we use, because while we might not have a lot of energy behind those phrases, our bodies and our subconscious still understands what the word hate and kill and those types of words mean, even if we don't necessarily push the energy behind them with it. But even if we don't push the energy behind the words, right? So if we're not really conscious of it, maybe it doesn't matter, except that it does, because we are working with a language that's been around for a while, and it's pretty infused with a lot of vibrations, intentions, and use. Like each word has its own morphogenetic field, and it's constantly bringing experiences into that. So similar to the way that we have our own morphogenetic field, and then the collective has its own morphogenetic field, and that we're constantly interacting with those two fields, words are also doing that. We have a personal resonance with it. It also has a collective resonance with it. But it still contains both of them, the collective and the personal in it. So even if you just like half-heartedly go, I would kill for a new watch or necklace or purse, or I would die to have an ice cream today because it's so hot. Just pay attention. Don't judge. We're just observing right now. So that is my advice. I'm really excited to hear how things go and how you all are doing. So please let me know. And I wanted this little segment to be short. And oh, guess what? It's not. Okay. Woohoo! Have fun.